Hello, 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 hello. Happy day. Happy day. I'm Charlie Newton, and this is Splash Studio Live. And I hope you kids are all gathered around your table or floor, your art supplies, and I hope that you had an awesome day. How was your day today? I had a very busy day, and I'm sure your day was busy too in school. Well, now we can have some fun with art. We're going to paint in watercolors once again today. I want to just show you some techniques, and practice make perfect. So you'll notice, just like in our classes before we had to go on social media, just like our in-person classes, we would practice over and over again until we got better, and then we would create our own works of art. So I know that you are at different stages of your art making and different ages, but I'm teaching for kids 6 to 19 and older. And so no matter how old you are, you can use these exercises. And I'm going to do one or two pictures today, but the main picture, I just want to show you some techniques. We're going to explore, once again, abstract art. We'll be doing that all month because abstract art was created about 100 years ago. I know a lot of people say, I don't understand abstract art. And I can understand why some people don't even like abstract art. But all art is abstract, okay? If I paint a picture of an apple, it is not a real apple. It's an abstract representation of an apple. So all art is abstract. All art, even if you want to call it realistic, you're still using shapes, colors, balance, composition, and design. So you notice I use words we've been using the last 2 or 3 times. We talked about balance, we talked about shapes, we talked about a little bit about color, and we're not going to go a whole lot into color this month. Next month we plan to actually teach you how to mix your colors. But with your watercolors, all Splash students, you have one of these watercolor trays. Watercolors come in several different ways, but we're using trays, so the color is already there for you. So let's look at an abstract painting. Like last time, I want to look at Vasily Kandinsky's art again. Right over here. Vasily Kandinsky, as we said before, was a German artist, and he has been accredited with creating abstract art. In Kandinsky's mind, he tried, and I could not understand this when I was in school to save my life. I understand it now. But he wanted to create what he called a spiritual art. And so he wanted art to make an art that would display his emotions and his mindfulness and his interior. All art is good for mindfulness. All art is done on the inside, and it is invisible. And so if you are positive about your art making, positive about what you're doing, and when I say positive, I just mean just have fun. No matter what you're doing, have fun. Because you don't get a grade for this. You are just learning. You are playing. If you can have fun with it and just play, and just practice, you know, and just have fun, just make art every day, then you will get better. And you will actually get good after a while. For instance, if you do one picture a week, you'll be only so good. If you do 5 pictures a week, you will be 5 times better by the end of that week, okay? So Kandinsky, I just want you to notice how he's using balance. First I want to show you balance in terms of large areas of colors. So this dark area here, it's a very dark indigo blue. It's so dark that it goes to black. You see that large shape here, this large area? That's balanced and off by this large area of black here and this area of dark blue here. So the weight of this area sort of balances the weight of that area on the left. This is symmetry. And what's going on in the middle is a lot of colors exploding. And then he goes back with lines. Remember I said don't paint with black. I might let you paint with black. Yeah, we'll paint with black today. Matter of fact, we will try to do a painting very similar to this one today. I think that might be some fun. So we're not going to do every little detail, but I think I want to do the larger shapes. So we're going to paint like Kandinsky today. I think that would be some fun. Maybe we'll do 2 paintings if we have time. The first painting, we're going to actually be inspired by this work of art right here. Okay? So the first thing I want you to do is I want you to get a large, wide brush. And splash students, you have this brush. And the number on this brush, let me see if I can find it. I think it's an 8 or a 9. No, it's a 24, I'm sorry. So a brush like this, one of these two, just a wide brush. And you're going to have your watercolor tins. And we're going to start with yellow. And just follow me. I think I'm going to start with yellow and orange. You need a glass of water. So hurry up and run get a glass of water if you don't have any. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to place some yellow first on the left-hand side of your page. We're just going to place some blobs of yellow. Dip your brush in the water, then dip it in the yellow. Just a blob of yellow. And then in the lower right-hand corner, I want you to do the same, see? In the corner. Lower left-hand corner, I'm sorry. I don't know my right from my left today. Your picture don't have to look exactly like mine. Mine won't look like Kandinsky. He was a master artist. And he has his own style, which is different than my style. The upper, now I had some green, for some reason my brush touched the green paint, and I don't want to use green yet. And so you can see green, a little green in here. It doesn't ruin the picture, but I want to clean my brush. So always pay attention to what's on your brush. I still have some green on my brush. So shake it off in water. Pat it dry. Try to get some clean yellow. I want some clean yellow right now. And put some yellow in this little corner. So we're thinking about balance now. Did you notice what I'm doing? This is symmetry. Symmetry is always there. And then it's going to become asymmetric. But the yellow on this side balances the yellow on that side. Now, that doesn't mean you can't have yellow elsewhere. You can, because everything that you're going to do is going to be by intuition. Next, let's get a little orange. But don't use your large brush. Let's get the round brush, because I don't want to go too fast. So I'm going to get a round brush. The size of my brush here is a number 8. And this brush is not perfect. It's been well used, but it doesn't matter with this particular picture. And put a little orange on your brush. You can put your orange anywhere you want to. Since we're sort of doing the Kandinsky, I'm going to put some orange in the lower right-hand corner first. Put a little orange up here. At the top, just right up center. Just a blob. We're just using blobs of shapes. I'm going to put a little arc here with the orange. The orange at the bottom here. Just to the left of center. Just to the left. And here. Now you can put orange anywhere you want to on your picture. It's still going to look like Kandinsky, okay? Now I'm applying some very thin washes of orange. So artists use the term feel a lot. And what we're talking about is, I'm going back for some yellow. What we're talking about, it has to feel right to your eyes. See, painting and drawing is a visual language. And like all languages, it's very complex. Art is very complex. When you make art, you get smarter. Everybody should practice art at some point in their lives, because what making art does, it utilizes the right brain thinking, which helps. I had some green in my yellow again, so I don't care at this point. You notice I'm doing a little bit at a time. That's why I want to use a small brush. So I'm not just doing I'm sort of observing what I've done. I need to know when to stop doing something. If I put this mark down, I need to know when to stop. So I'm really, even though I'm talking to you, I'm observing with laser focus. My focus is laser right now. And luckily I'm used to doing that. Now I'm leaving white because in watercolors, usually we don't have white paint. Sometimes when you use watercolors in tubes, see here's a tube of watercolor, sometimes it'll have some white paint. And I need my splash students to connect with me and let me see your work, because the next time we hand out art supplies, I just had an idea. I may want to give you some tubes of watercolor, but I need to order those tubes. So I need to know who's practicing with me. If you are not registered with Splash, which is free. Splash is free for all kids. We believe that everybody deserves the right to be creative, and art, I believe that personally that art should be free. We know it's not free, but we believe that I believe that it should be free for everybody. That's my goal. And so we've used orange and we've used yellow. What colors should we use next? How about some, since we're using warm colors, let's use a little red. Just put a little red on your brush. I'm going to put a line here. That's a mark, just a line. I'm going to put a line here. I'm going to put an arc here and let that arc come up like that. That's kind of important. Upper right hand corner, put a little mark that looks like a little bit like I don't know, some type of little animal. Let's put a few circles. You can put some circles any way you want to. On the left hand, you notice I'll work the whole painting. Very important. When you draw, but especially when you paint, work the whole piece of paper, your entire support at the same time. Very hard to do. You should do that when you draw too. Now, a lot of people, when they draw, they scroll, or when they paint, they scroll. You know what I mean by scrolling? This is scrolling. See how I'm rolling this paper up like that? That's scrolling. Now I'm going to unravel the paper. That's scrolling. So what I'm trying to say is they work from top to bottom. Or I saw one portrait artist, fascinating, worked from bottom to top. Or maybe they work from right to left. They scroll. Now when you scroll, that's a natural way of drawing or painting when you haven't had any training. Nothing wrong with it, but and I scroll sometimes too, but practice working the entire sheet of paper or canvas, the entire structure, the entire support at the same time. That's how you're going to achieve balance. It'll make it easier to achieve balance. I'm going to put some red in some more places. Little shapes. This is like a little red triangle. Don't overdo it. Now this is a very important mark I'm going to make here. This is called mark making. There is an implied shape of a cello or a bass guitar or a bass violin, and it comes, I'm going to use red right here. It comes around like this, then over like that. And then there's some lines that go straight up like the neck of an instrument. When I draw that line, I'm using the tip of my brush, the very tip, barely touching the paper. If I touch the paper too hard, look, I'm going to repeat this line up here like Kandinsky did. Now, if I touch it too hard, this is not the tip. See how wide that line is? I wanted a thin line. Also, I'm going to let this line come back around like that. We are just being influenced by Kandinsky. All artists are influenced by some artists. Who is your favorite artist? Make sure you clean your brush off before you dip it in the paint. Look, all of my colors are clean except the green. somehow I got the yellow into the green. You see that? My brush was large, so it touched the green, now it's changing colors. But you want all your colors to be clean, and you mix your colors either here. This is a palette that comes with this tray. See, I have some paint here. I could pick some paint up from over here. But I'm going to actually put some green over here, right there, see? So I could mix my colors there. What if I want to mix blue with some green? See, I could dip it in the blue. I just clean my brush off. And it'll make this green darker into a blue-green. Always get the paint off your brush before you put a different color on your brush, okay? So go ahead and continue to paint your picture. I'm going to put a few more red marks. Notice how you can make the paint thin or thick. The more water you use, the thinner your paint will be, and the more paper will show through your color. So the red and the white paper here makes this red look a little bit more pink. So now I think I'm going to use some blue. Now you can overlap the colors. Use your small brush, and when you overlap some of these colors, the color is going to change. Should I use blue or green? Now I think I'll use a little bit of green first. So I'll dip my brush into the green, and I'm going to take some green off, dip my brush a little bit into the water, just the tip of the brush, and so I can make my green transparent that way. If I put more paint on my brush, less water, then look what happens. The green is darker. So we want the paint in this painting to bleed. When I say bleed, I mean I want it to like run. So if I turn my paper up like this, the paint would run. This is a drafting table I'm using, so the table is not quite flat. It's raised at a slight angle, but the paint won't run. If I stood my paper up perpendicular, it would run. It would drip. So use any colors you want to at this point. I want you just to mix your colors. I'm going to mix mine any way you want to. You notice I'm using one color at a time. I can go back to the color later, but for balance and for speed, to expedite everything, I want to use one color at a time. Remember, leave some white paper. It's going to make it look more like Kandinsky. We're going to put some large dark shapes in here later, but not quite yet. I think I'll put a green cello string. It's going to have a couple of black strings too. I'm going to put a guitar shape here or a cello shape here in green. And then I'm going to put some rainbow-like shapes. Now Kandinsky worked on paper and canvas a lot larger than what we're working on, but this is very manageable, the size of your paper. And so that's why you're using a small brush. Your paper is 9 by 12. Easy to frame, but you can buy larger pads and work on that. I want to work on this size paper because this is the size that I gave to the students. And sometimes we sell our students artwork when we have art shows, and it's easier to frame this size. So that's another artist, a modern artist named Sam Francis. But my picture right now reminds me of Sam Francis. You notice I have a lot of bright colors. You don't have to have all bright colors. You can paint it any way you want to. Let me reiterate that. It's your painting, not mine. I just want to show you some techniques. We're going to put some lines on here last. And that's going to be fun because I want to show you how that changes the picture. But now we have colors blending into each other and overlapping. I'm going to start inserting some blue. I'm going to first overlap this green with some blue. Here, this guitar shape, because again, I want this to remind me of Kandinsky's painting. Now I'm going to draw some little shapes like Kandinsky did. I don't know what these shapes mean that he drew, but since I just wanted to look like his. Who knows what he was thinking? Artists we are all different, and we all think differently, and we all see things differently too. It's hard to get artists to agree on anything. So when you find an artist, and there are some artists who are really good at collaboration, I'm not that great at it. Because I've been drawing ever since I was 5 years old. When did you start drawing? Really? Wow. You've been drawing a long time. When you start using darker colors, just try not to overdo it. It's so easy to overdo it. And again, I can't paint like Kandinsky. And the painting that I showed you, it may have been in watercolors or it may have been in oils. I don't know. Look, maybe it was probably done in oils. But he did watercolors as well. Just any way you think you need blue. And sometimes the blue could be thick and sometimes the blue can be thin. Remember, add water to make your paint thin. When your paint is thin, the color underneath it is going to show through. When it's thick, you won't be able to see the color underneath. When the color underneath shows through, then your color is going to change. It will change that color. I'm going to put some more large blue areas over here. And I'm going to make this area over here darker. Once I do that, then it will be probably reminiscent of Kandinsky. What I mean is it'll make people who know Kandinsky's art, if they like Kandinsky, maybe they'll like this one. Maybe they'll recognize something that they they've seen before. Now, one of the best things you can do as a beginner or intermediate artist, no matter how good you are, one of the best things that you can do is to copy old masters. When things open up a little bit more, your parents might take you to the museum or to galleries. Maybe you can ask the gallery owner if you can bring your sketch pad or your paints, watercolors, of course, paints that's easy to clean up. By the way, that's another reason why we use watercolors, easy cleanup. And if you could just sit there and copy one of the pictures. Now I'm going to change my colors at will. I want you to do that too. Go ahead and paint your picture and glance over at what I'm doing every now and then. But I want you to paint your picture without being disturbed by me. Yeah, so I was saying, and this is for all ages from 4 to 94. And I teach all ages from 4 to 94. These lessons are good for anybody. Because one thing that's going to happen is you're going to develop your own style, but you're going to automatically have some of the foundations, the important foundations of art. You're going to practice those foundations even before you know what they are. And it's going to make you a better artist. So if you practice with me, you will get better, and you'll get better fast, and you will maintain your individual style. That's very important. Never judge your work by somebody else's work. No one can do what you do because there's nobody like you, which is a good thing. You are unique and you are an individual. No matter how you look, what color you are, if tall or short or fat or skinny, or no one can do what you can do like you. So that makes you unique. And with art, and the reason why I like art is because I can express my uniqueness. Okay, so I'm just trying to get my colors in. I'm trying to leave some white spaces. Very important. Leave some whites. And you notice my white spaces are pretty much balanced. I have a lot of white space up here, but only because I'm going to end up darkening this side. Because I'm going to have like Kandinsky's art, I'm going to have a dark section over here, a dark section that runs from the bottom center a little bit and curves back around, kind of like a yin-yang sign, and a dark section over here. Okay, and first I'm going to do wide dark shapes, and then I'm going to do skinny dark shapes. So I'm going to use red again, and I'm going to actually use some brown, but when you mix red with brown, you can get a nice dark color. Mix red with blue, you can get a nice dark blue. So I just put this red down here. Now while it's still wet, I clean my brush off. I'm going to dip it in the blue. I'm going to paint blue over it. And it turns into a very dark purple. And that's what I wanted to happen. So keep your paints. Here's a little disclaimer for the young ones. Keep your paints clean. If it gets dirty, you can clean it out with a paper towel or even your brush. but keep it clean because you want your colors to not turn into what we call mud. And it's very difficult to use a lot of colors together and it not turn into mud. You have to really pay attention to what you're doing. Don't rush and be careful. Do a little bit at a time. The closer I get to finishing, and I'm getting pretty close to finishing, the slower I go. Now some of you have already finished. If you have, I want you to start another picture. Don't just stop, start another picture. Remember, practice make work. Perfect, right, somebody got it. This is like a musical note, but I did a dot and this curved line around it that Kandinsky has in his art. He has a lot of symbols. So he called his art spiritual art. He created an art that was spiritual. So when you think of the spiritual, you think of things that you cannot see. Now, my definition of art is invisible. Invisible. You cannot see art. Okay, art itself, the art itself is invisible. What we see is the ramifications or the results of the art or the symbols of the art. So the expression, what we see is the expression, and art can be expressed, that art can be expressed in drawing or painting. It could be expressed in dance. The art can be expressed, I'm putting two dots here, like Kandinsky. It can be, and a little curved red line there. It can be expressed in theater. It's expressed in rap, spoken word, music. But the art itself is invisible. And what the artist does is decide what would be the best way to express my idea or my feeling. So Kandinsky thought that being more, letting your art flow and letting it be more intuitive, that maybe you could capture something of the person's spirit. And we can definitely see Kandinsky's spirit in his art. And he has a beautiful spirit. Excuse me. Okay, I'm almost ready to start with the dark colors. First, I'm going to use brown. And I'm going to let you guys use black this time, I think. But first, I'm going to use brown. I'm still using my small brush. And I'm going to make some little brown marks. Remember, paint the entire picture at the same time. Don't scroll. Don't just go from left to right like you're reading. We're not reading. We are painting. So it should look like a painting. Now see, I'm painting in the middle. So I'm trying to balance everything. I'm trying to see where should this brown go. What would look good to me. Now, my art don't look like this. My art is slightly different, but what we're doing is art that sort of looks like Kandinsky. And we get that look by using the same colors that he used. And some of the strokes. Remember this stroke here, this curved line here, this is like a guitar. If you can imagine a guitar, and that mirrors this shape here. And there. Excuse me. We are almost ready for what we call the Coup De Grace. The little bit that's going to make your picture sing. And these dark lines can make your picture sing. But it's easy to overdo and ruin your picture too. So sometimes you need to be brave. I'm going to use a little purple too. We have purple on our palette. Oops. I'm going dark slowly. Sometimes you have to not rush it. You have to be brave, but take your time. Leave some little white areas in here. So I've been using one color at a time, and even though this looks complex, if somebody came in right now and looked at this picture, then it seems complex. But when you use one color at a time, and then you paint the entire picture at the same time and allow yourself the opportunity to overlap, that's where the complexity comes in. I'm still using purple. I'll put a little purple up here. You must control. I'm sure you're noticing how it's hard to control how much paint you put down on the paper. So you have to pay attention. You have to actually look at your brush, see how much paint is in it. When you touch your paper, when your brush touches the paper, you have to see what happens and stop if something's happening that you don't want to happen. Okay, now I'm almost done with the purples. So I still have a lot of white. So I'm going to use a little bit more brown, and then we're going to use black. Oh, I need some more blue. I changed my mind. I'm going to shake the brown off my brush and get some blue. I saw an area that needs to have some blue in it, this area here. That's a little zigzag that he has in his work. So I'm still looking at Kandinsky's painting, but I'm not copying it like verbatim, because that's actually illegal. So I should not copy this exactly like that picture and put his name on it. That would be wrong. That would be telling a lie. It's called plagiarism. And in art, it's called forging, art forgery. But I'm allowing Kandinsky to influence me. And that's perfectly fine to allow artists to influence you. So by looking at his colors and his shapes and trying to approximate or to use some of those colors and shapes the way he uses them, what I'm doing is I'm learning. I'm teaching myself how to paint like Kandinsky. Whatever Kandinsky knows, now I'm putting it into my body, into my hand and eye. So it's really good to practice. Notice I'm using black now. I was talking, I forgot to tell you, I'm using black. So that hard black line, I'm going to soften it. I shoot the black off in the water, and my brush is still wet. I'm just going to go on the edge of this black to soften this edge, to let it blend into the blue. Okay, that's good. In using black, I used to say don't use black, but I'm just going to use the tip of my brush, and I'm going to be very careful. Only the tip of your brush. I'm just going to darken these colors. I got to shake the black off because I had a lot of black in my brush. This is a small sheet of paper. I don't need a lot of paint. So I'm drawing with the black. I'm drawing some of these shapes that Kandinsky has. I don't know what this shape means, but he has it in his picture, so I'm going to put it in my picture. Take my brush off. So in your mind, I don't care how old you are or how young, if you're 6, try to control what you're doing. If you're 66, try to control what's happening. You are the master of this painting. You are in control. Say that with me. I am in control. Whenever I'm working on a major painting and I get to a point where I don't know what to do and I'm beginning to get frustrated, I tell myself, I am the creator. I am in control. This is my work. No one can do this but me. Isn't that nice to know that you can do something that nobody else on this planet can do? That's a beautiful thought. So never be down on yourself and never doubt yourself. I'm going to see this yellow here. I'm going to put a thin wash of blue and see if I can turn that yellow into ochre. So there's a lot of water in my brush. I just want to soften that yellow, make it a little darker, like ochre. And I'm going to do the same, put some brown here too. Brown there. So everything, you're doing a little bit at a time right now. The brown here. Kandinsky has a line in this area of brown, and then it's thin. I just put water in my brush to thin that brown. And now I'm going to get some black, get black again. I'm going to draw a thin line. Remember, to draw a line with a brush, only use the tip of your brush and it barely touches the paper. That's how you draw a line. Now I'm going to make this line a little wider by pressing down a little bit on the brush. There's a lot of water in my brush. Now there's a shape here I'm going to see if I can draw that Kandinsky has. shape that Kandinsky has. He liked these shapes for some reason. I don't know what they are, but they are very interesting. This might just be something that he does. See these little shapes? My brush is just the tip of my brush, just gently touching the paper, barely touching the paper. Like I had an art teacher when I was a freshman at UTC. I used to like his expression. He would say it just ever so slightly. Just touch it ever so slightly. He taught me how to draw. His name was Mr. Chapman. And he was a great artist. We drew every day for months. Just learning how to draw lines. But I wanted to be an artist, so I didn't complain. I mean, we used tons and tons of paper. I had a locker, and you art students listening, you know what I'm talking about. And my locker was stuffed with drawings because at the end of the semester we had a critique and we had to turn those drawings in to show we've been working. And I had to stuff the paper into my locker. I had so much paper. Oops. I'm going to try to do some lines. There you go. Barely touch, do some lines. Maybe he's thinking about guitar strings when he did those. I don't know what he's thinking about when he did these shapes here, like these curved lines like that. Maybe it's just a design element. But every now and then I think about Mr. Chapman, and I think about his drawing class. And man, it took me a while, even though I've been drawing since I was 5 years old, but to learn how to actually draw, I was so happy to have the opportunity to learn something. One thing that art does is, for you parents, if any parents are watching, it helps your children learn to love learning. Because art is a creative process. And everything in life, you're going to have to figure stuff out. You know. Also, for Splash, we really like our students to learn something about entrepreneurship and how it relates to doing your best. No matter what you do, whether you like it or not, whether you enjoy it or not, always do your best. Have the practice of doing your best. And that way, you'll never get fired from a job. And you will never be broke again. Because you know how to do your best. You will never be broke again if you learn how to do your best every time. You may learn how to create your own work, your own jobs, or create your own arts, or your life. You can create your own life. I'm just doing Kandinsky shapes. What they are, I don't know. I'm drawing with the tip of my brush, trying not to press down hard on the paper. And this brush is raggedy. If I had a smaller brush, it would be easier to make these lines, but I like the challenge. See, I'm getting better. I'm even getting better as we're doing this too, by the way. I'm growing. You are growing and I'm growing at the same time. Every time you make art, you grow in a positive way. Oh yeah, I had started talking about art makes you smarter. How does it make you smarter? Well, every time you practice something new, your brain grows. This art is really good for older people. It can help guard against Alzheimer's and dementia. Studies have shown that. Maybe now that we're alive, maybe some of my older friends, 60s and 70s, maybe you can get your sketch pad out. And let me know. If you're older and you're doing this, let me know. Because it's free for everybody. Now that we're online, Splash has expanded to actually serve the elderly as well as the youth. Our focus is on the youth, but whoever we can get art to, that's what we want to do, because art is fun. And art is for everyone. Remember that. Art is for everyone. See, I've been painting, and I haven't even been looking at my painting. I've been looking at Kandinsky's work. Use a little bit more blue. Now I want you to go ahead and finish your picture. I want you to go ahead and finish your picture. How many minutes? We're going to finish in just a minute or two. Okay, I'm going to finish, do a few more shapes. If you haven't finished yet, you can keep painting after we're off the air. But now I'm going to put my name in the lower left-hand corner because that's where I want to put it. So put your name in the lower left or lower right-hand corner. Now, that's my Kandinsky influence painting. Boy, that was fun. I hope you had fun. I look forward to seeing you next time. We will be here Saturday morning from 11 until 12. We will paint again. I'm feeling like painting. I believe we're going to paint. Not sure. But until next time, remember, art is for everyone. Bye-bye.